Hey, ladies. Is it live yet? This thing is still rolling. I never know when this is live, so there we go. Hey, ladies. How are you? I'm really excited about today's topic. Today, we're going to be talking about lovability, worthiness, and how to believe new things. Now, if you caught the post that I posted this morning, I said that I know two things about every woman in this group. And those two things are one, there's nothing wrong with you. And two, you are 100% lovable and 100% worthy. So this is a non negotiable, right? It's non negotiable that that is true for every last one of us. And I want you to really notice where your brain might be arguing with that. The fact that you are 100% worthy and 100% lovable. Notice any thoughts that come up when I say that and just pay attention to it because that's where your work is. Those thoughts that come in when I say those things and you think about yourself, that's where your work is. And I'm going to tell you why this is true. Because, first of all, as a believer, or even if you don't believe, even if you are not a believer, a price was paid for your life. So that in itself says that your life has infinite value and infinite worth. Secondly, people loving you or not loving you in your past and your future has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them, right? So you are 100% lovable, and that's the case for everybody, right? Whether or not people are able to love you the way that you deserve to be loved has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with their ability to love and to give love. The reason that this is so important to not only know these two things but believe them in your heart is because if you don't know those things and if you don't believe those things, that when you start to dream and you start to create what your version of a 10-10 life is, you're going to sell yourself short, right? You're not going to you're going to settle for less than God's best for your life if you go around and you have a belief that for some reason you're not worthy and for some reason you're not lovable. And you're going to just dream and believe for a life that is beneath what God really has for you. So I want you to pay attention, really close attention to those thoughts that may or may not come up when you hear I am worthy 100%, I am lovable 100%. I have a worksheet that's going to be in the file section, right? So we have the worksheet that helps you create your version of the 10-10 life. It's asking you a series of questions, but before you do that, and if you've already done that, I want you to look at this worksheet that talks about lovability and worthiness and really be honest with yourself from a place of compassion and grace and no judgment, and just be honest with yourself where you are and what you are feeling about who you are, right? That's so important before you start creating what your version of a 10-10 life is. And I want you to just take some time and do that worksheet and create a list. Part of the worksheet is creating a list of like your defense. Hey, Kiosha. It's your thoughts that will combat the thoughts that you might have, like subconsciously, that come up when I talk about you being worthy and lovable. We want to have a line of defense for every time you have one of those thoughts. You can choose to think this other thought instead, right? So, like I said, I want you guys to look in the file section and do that worksheet on worthiness and lovability. Because what we're doing in this group is allowing ourselves first to identify with what we really want and who we really are without putting limits on that. Without allowing our brain to say, well, you can't do this and you shouldn't do that, and how are you going to do that? And we address that by looking at the external and the internal. So we're looking at our external world, our environment, and we're also paying very close attention to our internal world, which is our thoughts. And then we look at three areas, which is you and your relationships, and then you and your dreams. And today I want to talk about how to believe new things. So if you've created your version of what a 10-10 life is and you're looking at it and you're like, yeah, that's what I want, but I'm not believing that this is possible for me, we're going to talk about how you can start to believe new things. And it's actually a process. It sounds like, maybe you should just be able to believe it, but that's not the reality of it, right? When you've believed something for so long in your life, switching that is a process. And this is part of all of our work, right? So the 3 steps to believing new things is first, creating a new thought. Right? Now, this is after you have identified what the old thoughts are. We're not going to bypass that step, right? So first, you're going to create a new thought. Second, you practice it, rehearse it, and believe it. And then third, create evidence in your external world that will reinforce those beliefs. Because what you see on the outside reinforces what you believe on the inside, and vice versa. So let's look at possibility. When you set a goal, I want you to ask yourself first, is this humanly possible? Like, could somebody actually do this? Is it possible for a human to do this goal that I set? If the answer is yes, then it shouldn't be a stretch for you to then believe that it is possible for you to do that, right? So going from it's humanly possible to it's possible for me to also do this. And then you have to catch your tendency here, because lots of times when you start thinking that, I want you to catch that you will have a tendency to think, well, I don't know how, or I don't know what, or even I don't have the time. All of those are kind of indicators that there is some disbelief about it being possible for you. Right? So then you got to go back to your work and get into belief. And belief is a lot like faith, right? You might not have evidence to say that you can do these things, but you can decide, I'm going to believe anyways, right? Belief is way more important than the how. Because when you set a goal, your brain is automatically going to be like, but how? How am I going to do this? I don't want you to do that. I want you to first believe that it's possible for you to do that. And here's why. Because if you believe that it's possible, you'll just keep going after it. You'll try this, you'll do that, you'll do it again and again and again, because you believe it's possible. If you get caught in the how and you lean on the how, when the how doesn't work out, then you're going to be like, well, I guess it's not for me. That how didn't work out. So the belief supersedes the how. So don't get caught up when you're writing out your goals. Don't get caught up immediately in the how. Like, we'll get to that, but get yourself in belief that it's possible for you first. And then just decide ahead of time that you're going to believe, and you're going to have gratitude ahead of time, because your thoughts direct your brain. Like, it's going to your thoughts tell your brain where it needs to focus, what it needs to do. It's like Google. It's like if we Googled reasons why dogs are the best pets. If we Googled that, everything that came up would tell us why dogs are the best pets, right? It would give us evidence for why, yes, this is true. But if we Googled why dogs are the worst pets or why cats are the best pets, it's going to give us evidence for that. It's going to pull up all the evidence for that. So your brain is like Google. Whatever you tell it to focus on, that's what it's going to do. And it's going to reinforce and find evidence. So if you're telling yourself, I'm not capable of this, your brain is like a laser, right? It's like a heat-seeking missile. It's going to find all of the reasons why that is true. But if you tell your brain, it's possible that I could do this, then your brain is going to start actively seeking evidence for that to be true, which is why we talk about creating an external environment that reinforces those thoughts that you're having. So this is what I want you guys to do. This is homework, right? This is your work. I want you to, after you've done the worthiness and lovability, please do not bypass that step. please do it with grace and compassion for yourself. And then create what your version of a 10-10 life is. Not trying to figure out how, just believing that it's possible for you to have all the things that you want to have out of life, right? That you want to live the life that God set aside for you, and get all of the things that He intends for you to have. Once you've done those, I want you to identify one belief that you want to work on for the next 30 days, for the next month. It could be anything. It could be about you. It could be about what you're capable of. It could be about your goal. Spend some time, just identify one. Don't try to tackle all of them at one time, right? Just identify one. Then I want you to just accept that it's true. Then practice it daily. Practice it means you write it, you say it out loud, you think it, you repeat it over and over again. This is not something that you can do one time and then just dismantle a belief that you may have had all of your life. It requires work, right? And the reason that we do this is because the more that you say it, and the more that you see it, and the more that you create outside evidence of it, the more it becomes true. You're becoming what you set out to become. You're doing what you set out to do. And so, for example, I think I told you guys, like, one of the things that I'm practicing thinking is there are two things. So I've had these two thoughts that I'm consistently practicing thinking. One of them is that I am a woman who takes immaculate care of my mind, my body, and my soul. And I practice it every day to the point where when I go to the gym and I don't feel like doing something, which is usually all the time, I will still drag myself out of the bed at 7 o'clock in the morning. I will still go to the gym. I'm still doing things that I don't necessarily want to do that my trainer's telling me to. I think about it when I'm wanting to eat junk food. I remind myself, but I'm a woman who takes immaculate care of my body, my mind, my soul. It reminds me to do this work every day because I think to myself, I'm a woman who takes care of my mind, my body, and my soul. And because I'm practicing that every day, because I'm saying it, doesn't make it any easier. It doesn't make going to the gym in the morning any easier. I don't necessarily enjoy it, but I am enjoying who I'm becoming as a part of that process. The other thing that I'm practicing is I am a woman who keeps a clean, tidy, and beautiful home. And what I've started doing is buying myself flowers every week because I love flowers and they're beautiful and I like looking at them. And it's a small thing. It's the small things that you start doing every day, every week. You make a practice of it that makes the difference in the long run. I didn't go out and buy a new house and buy all new furniture and buy new clothes. I didn't do that. Now you can do that if you want to. It'd be awesome, but you don't have to do that. It's these very small details, right, that add up over time. So now not only am I thinking, yes, I'm a woman who, keeps a very clean, tidy house and it's beautiful. When I look around, that's what I see. So it's reinforced for me. So it's just who I am now. So I want you to try this for a month with just one thought and stick with one thought. Don't give up on yourself. Push through and practice thinking it. Think it every day. Write it down. Journal it every single day, and then create evidence for it in your external environment. And then just tell yourself, this is just who I am. This is what I do. This is just who I am. So that's your homework. And I want to hear how this works out for you. I want to hear if you guys have created your 10-10 life and you have thoughts about it. Let's talk about it. There is no judgment in this group. All of us have stuff that we're working towards. I'm working on this right alongside you guys. It's the work that we have to do in order to become who we want to be, who God called us to be, for us to step into our purpose, right? This week has been great to be a woman, right? We have a female vice president. That is her role, right? What is your role? What are you gonna do for the last 2 months of this year in 2021 to really step up into your purpose, what you've been dreaming about doing. What are you going to do? This is the work for that now. Yes, sis, no judgment. You know, I started to do our little meme, but I'll just text it to you later, Kiosha. So that's the homework. As always, I have, if you want to do this work deeper and have one-on-one attention from me, you can apply for coaching. I'll put that link in the bio. But I'll be back next week and we'll keep talking about this. We're talking about you. We're talking about you and your relationships, and we're talking about you and your dreams. Let me know if you guys have questions, and I'll see you next week. Love you guys. Bye, Kiosha.